All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream. Getting started a couple of minutes late tonight, but ran into some technical issues before starting. So, hopefully tonight we will be able to get our render graph up and running. That's the goal, anyways. So we're going to continue on with that. Before I jump into that, though, I do want to really quickly thank the people on the screen, starting with the partners who are the highest tier of support over on YouTube memberships and Patreon. They are Arslia, Gerbolis Inc., and Patrick Coleman. I would also like to thank everybody else here on the screen. They are the other tiers of support over on Patreon and YouTube memberships, as well as Twitch subs. So thank you very much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. I hope it goes without saying at this point that also, I really appreciate all of you viewers out there, each and every one of you, for following along here, or whether it's here or on YouTube. Of course, without you guys, this project wouldn't occur, right? It wouldn't exist. So I appreciate you guys following along, interacting, and whatnot. So thank you very much for being here. Raul, hello, welcome to the stream. So, anyway, I think with all of that out of the way, I will go ahead and just drop a link in the chat real quick for those of you who are new to the project. There is the KohiEngine.com website. It serves as a central hub for this project and contains links to all of the things that you might need to help understand the project, including the source code, this Twitch channel, the YouTube channel, as well as some other things on there. So feel free to check that out as well. Okay, so last time, this is kind of where we left off. So we were going to compile, and then we had just an issue here with unused function, configure render graph, which makes sense. We never actually called it. So let's go ahead and do that. And that is actually going to replace this configure render views. So we're going to disable that guy, and we're going to say configure render graph. Okay. And all this takes is a pointer to the application itself, which in this case is game_inst. And I think, yeah, this does return a Boolean, so let's go ahead and just make sure that that is all good to go as well. So if it fails, we'll say kerror, failed to set up render graph. Right. We should probably also say reporting application. Right. And of course, we will return false. All right. So let's just build real quick and see what else we have. Okay. So it looks like some of our render views are not compiling, which I can't say I'm terribly surprised about that, given that we've actually changed when we've gotten rid of this world data thing, right? So we're going to have to essentially, I guess we can comment out those files. So let's go to render view world, and I don't know if I could just block comment the whole thing. Probably not because of this. Let's see. I think this is literally just going to undeclared variable usage. Maybe I should just remove the files outright. I don't really want to do that yet, though. All right, so I guess I could just rename the file. So if I go here into views, and I'll say render view world, and I'll just rename this. And I think I'll just change the extension. to like, I don't know, delete me, right? I'll just do that. I don't know if that's actually gonna solve the problem or not. Looks like we have... Oh, we have simple scene. We have simple scene errors, really. Okay. DRA push. Okay, so there's some issues with simple scene. So let's go simple scene and work our way through those. Too many errors emitted. Okay. Oh, right, we didn't need these anymore. Okay. So we've got more. I knew there was going to be some stuff that we had to do. I knew we weren't quite there yet. This whole render or populate render packet thing, this is going to be going away at some point anyway. So let's just block that whole thing out. Okay. So this is just removing these things which no longer exist. All right. So that took care of that. Entry.h. I completely forgot about that one. So we renamed these functions. We didn't actually change them here. So we'll have to say render frame. And we're actually missing a check for app inst. What did we call that? Prepare frame. So we need to check that as well. We didn't have that in there before. All right, entry.c. Gonna be the same thing, I think. Right, so this just needs to be render frame, and this needs to be, oops, prepare frame, I think we called it. And incidentally, that means that these are going to need to change too. So we have render frame and then prepare frame. So that should be good. Okay, we've built. So at least we've gotten all the compilation errors out of the way. I guess we can go ahead and try running. Right, so I'm just going to bring my debugger over here really quickly. And we're going to run and see what happens. Okay. Render view world on resize. Okay, so it's going to... I guess I'm going to have to turn off all of the view logic instead. Okay, I was hoping to get around doing that for right now, but... Oops. Testbed main C. Here are all the views. Why is the simple scene loader down here? That doesn't belong down here. That belongs like up here somewhere. So here are our views. Let's kill those. Render view, editor world. We're going to kill that one as well. Okay. So it looks like we have some additional code in here that we need to kill. Okay, so, alright, so this is actually configure render views. We're going to have to basically comment out this entire function, which is going to be all of this, including that section there. Which is probably not going to work because of this. Right. So now that should be done. Okay, so we've built again. Let's try running. It's probably still not going to work, but get rid of all these breakpoints. Okay. So we're at least up and running. Let's see what the... So register known systems. App config views. Ah, okay. So our systems manager actually has... That's right, we actually have to disable the view system. I forgot about that. Okay. So, systems manager. We have the render view system here. I'm just going to remove that. Let's see. So we have that needs to go. Render view system. And then all the views. This logic needs to go. And don't forget, if you guys have any questions along the way, you know, feel free to ask them, right? We're just kind of working our way through all of this stuff now. All right, so that built. Let's see what we get. Okay, segfault on ext data. Did we not? Oh, you know what? We might not have actually allocated space for our... Yeah, we didn't. So our... Oh, we don't actually have any of that stuff set up, do we? So that's going to be a problem too. Okay, so we need... ext data needs to be allocated. And that's probably something we should do when we stand up the pass. So I'm thinking we should probably go to Skybox pass. We'll try this one first. So we do internal data here, but we should probably also do pass data dot ext data equals kallocates size of skybox pass extended data, and then the memory tag is going to be renderer, right? And so we're going to need to do that in the other passes as well. So that's the skybox pass. I guess we'll do the editor pass next. So put this here. And this just needs to be editor pass extended data. We'll do scene pass next. Oops. I didn't copy that over, did I? So put that here. Scene pass extended data. And then we'll do the UI pass last. So that's going to be right here. And this is just going to be UI. Okay. So build that. And then debug. Okay. I'm not surprised we broke all kinds of stuff, FYI. Okay, so that's not terribly surprising. We didn't set up the texts. So actually we got all the way to the UI pass before we pooped out, so that's actually pretty good. Where was that? 961. Wait. Oh, that was in testbed main. That's preparing the IC. Okay. Here. Okay. So the ext data tests, we want to actually reserve that every frame using our frame allocator. Let's do that right here. So we'll say ext data dot texts equals darray reserve with allocator. The type of that is going to be UI text. The capacity, we'll start off with 2, and then the allocator is going to be p frame data allocator, and we need the address of that. I think that's correct. Yep, okay. So we'll build and run. Okay, now we're getting an issue with a freeze. So let's see. What did we darray destroy? TCAP with a raid of 12 viewers. Thank you so much. Hello. Welcome, raiders. Welcome, everybody. So what we are working on here is we are working on a game engine that is written in C and Vulkan completely from scratch. And currently I'm implementing a render graph. So let me give a quick shout out to TCAP. TCAP, what are you working on? How's it going, man? Long time no see. Oh, did I type it wrong? I think I did. There we go. So definitely go and check out TCAP's channel for sure. He's always doing all kinds of crazy stuff on there. How's that editor coming along that you were working on? Coffee, welcome. Good to see you. Vulkan, our friend Cakes loves Vulkan. Yeah, I've seen Cakes do some Vulkan stuff as well. Added some stuff to your Twitch bot. Sweet, what'd you add? He's a huge D's enjoyer. Both D's, specifically. So yeah, basically I'm just working through a rewrite of. I had a view system in place, but it didn't quite work out the way that I wanted to, and wasn't quite as flexible as I wanted it to be. So I'm kind of in the process right now of standing up a Rendergraph, and we've implemented the whole thing and implemented all of our passes and all that stuff. And I'm in the process now of just checking and seeing what I missed. So we're basically going through seg faults at the moment, which is super entertaining, I know. Let's see. So let me run this again. Oh, you added RAID sub and GIF sub notifications, also some TTS stuff. What are you using as your TTS engine, out of curiosity? Are you using like TTS Monster? Which is one of the things I kind of silently installed on here, but I think I'm probably going to change to a different one. TCAP is also quite the chess master. You would completely wipe the floor with me in chess because I'm rubbish at it. Absolute rubbish. Let's see. Okay, so we are resizing an array. So debug geometries. Freed and already freed block. Oh. We are, So this was something I added and hadn't quite gotten around to testing to see if it worked yet. I'll bet our D array is actually screwed up because it's using our allocator to allocate memory, but I think it's trying to free using like the global allocator instead of the frame allocator. Let's see, that was on resize. So, yep, it's destroying. Okay. So, I just need to check here to see. Instead of doing, actually, I think I can do it within destroy. I don't think I need to actually handle it here. Stream elements in TikTok. You just send them a string and they give you an MP3. Really? Okay. I'll have to look into that because I didn't realize that they had like a full API that you could access. That's kind of cool. So you're using their API but not their bot, basically? Is that free, or do they charge for that? So, let's see. Okay, so this, I think, right here is the problem. So if we have an allocator, then we need to say header allocator free. And I think this just takes the address and the size. So header total size else. I think that should work. And yes, I am still using VS Code as my debugger, unfortunately. I'm not familiar enough with the other ones that I'm trying yet to switch to them. So I don't use this as my editor, but I have to use the debugger for now. Free is in Libre. TikTok requires an account. Streamlabs does not. Oh, okay. Yes, VS. This is a family-friendly stream, so you know I can't be using terms like VS Code on here. All right. So let's see, what did we get? Okay, so max. Oh, interesting. So this event must still be actually hooked up to something. So I wonder. Render view system on window resize. I wonder where that's. Render view system. Render targets generate. Okay, it's probably in the front end. Yeah, it's in the front end. Okay. Is it calling it twice? Notify views of the resize. Oh, this is... But why, though? Alright, let's kill these. Alright. I think we're going to have a little bit more work to do around that, but... Oh, Coffee. Why are you using such terms in my chat? It's like the opposite of me. You use VS code, rather. Hit the beep too early. But debug somewhere else. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I prefer doing all my editing in Vim. I actually had a DAP plugin set up for this for a bit that I was trying out, but it was too buggy. So, why are you using terms like oop? Oop is bad. So rude, Coffee. Okay. So, active viewport set. Why is this seg faulting? Okay. Oh, we literally didn't set a viewport. I guess, how did we miss that? Did we not set it? We must not have set it in the past data. So probably it's going to have to be done for each one, I'm guessing. So let's try this one first. Let's see. So we have our past data. We're using the viewport here, but I don't think we actually set it up in the past data. No, we did not. Okay, so we're going to have to do state, skybox pass, past data, VP is equal to basically, oops. I don't want to change that. I want to copy it. All right. So we need to use that. We also need to set up the view matrix, which is going to be, we're going to need this. And then we'll just say, what did we get for that? I don't think we actually did. Okay, so camera view get, and we'll just say the address of current camera. and then states, skybox pass, pass data, view position equals camera position get current camera. And then we need projection matrix is the only other thing. Oh, we got ads. Got about 15 seconds on ads. Cool, and we're back. So for those of you who are new to the stream, I like to pause the stream whenever ads come up so that you guys don't miss anything. Just because, I don't know, I find it annoying when I'm watching a stream and then, you know, all of a sudden I can't hear what's being said, especially when it comes to code, right? So I try to not do that. Okay, so there's two ways that we could go about this. We could assign this data here in the pass data, which is probably the way I'm going to go, or I could technically assign it here during the execute phase. But I kind of want to keep this execute phase as tight as possible because I'm going to try and multi-thread this portion. So I'm going to set this stuff for here for now and see how that works out. All right, so let's run again, and we should at least get past that pass. All right, so which one are we in now? Still in the execute of that one. Did we not set the viewport? Why is it saying we haven't set any of this stuff? What did I miss? I guess I should put a breakpoint here and make sure it's actually being set. So let's go to, what line is that? 713. Let's go. Oh, that's why. That's why. Okay. Actually, so the only part of this that actually needs to conditionally happen on load for this is actually this part right here. So because the skybox pass always has to run, well, let me think about that for a second. So we probably ought to have a way to flag whether or not this stuff should run. Either that, or we should always at least fill out this minimum data and always have these render passes run. So the skybox pass has to run because that's also the pass that we use to clear the screen. And then we have the UI pass that also has to run, because that is what flips the image format to be presentable at the end. The ones in between could run or not run, doesn't really matter, but those two always have to run. That's very considerate. Yeah, I try to. Sometimes I will miss them, but I do try to kind of keep an eye on it. I almost forgot to mention, by the way, for you guys that are new to the stream, I will drop a few links here in chat. So we do have a website that is, make sure it drops. There it goes. So we do have a KohiEngine.com website. So this is a website that we use for this project. It's sort of like the homepage for the whole thing. And there's all kinds of stuff on here. There's, let me bring this out a little bit. So there's links to, obviously, this Twitch channel. I archive all this stuff on the YouTube channel that I have there. There's automated API documentation. So we have all this stuff available in here that we, as we build it and check into the main branch, it's all here, right? So we have all this auto-generated API documentation. We have links to the GitHub, Patreon, that kind of thing. We do have a Discord server that's approaching 700 users at the moment. So it's kind of starting to be a little bit more active. And so, yeah, this is kind of sort of a central hub to just find everything that you might be wondering about on this, right? Figured I'd point that out real quick. And then also, I'll go ahead and drop my socials in here as well, in case you guys want to follow me on those, just to get updates on the project when I'm not streaming, right? All right. So all of this stuff has to happen. How do I want to do this? We should probably have a way to signal whether or not we want to call the pass. We might want to add that to the pass data, right? Unless we flip that flag, don't execute the pass. Let's actually add that real quick. So we have pass data. I guess I could add it to the pass data itself. Yeah, I guess that's probably going to make the... So we'll call this B8. Do we want to call it execute? It's kind of a verb, right? Do execute's a little bit weird. I guess we could call it... I guess we'll call it do execute. Right, and so every frame we will reset all of those to false, and then only if we actually flag it as true within the application itself on that frame when we're preparing the frame. Only if we flip it to true will it actually go. So we would need to do something like state skybox pass data do execute equals true, right? And so I think I'm going to rename this to skybox pass extended data, because I need to move all of this stuff, with the exception of that, out here. Right? So skybox pass, this pass must always run as it is what clears the screen. All right. And then in our render graph, when we do execute frame, before we call execute, we will say if not graph passes sub I pass data do execute, continue. And that will just skip that pass. So that's a quick way for us to be able to turn on and off passes. Okay. So technically speaking, that should run just like that. So we don't have a scene loaded, right? So we weren't even getting into this logic before, which is why that stuff wasn't being set. Okay. So let's go to debug and see what we get. Okay, not terribly surprised there. What are we getting here? So render pass. Okay, we do have a render pass. Image view. The image view is not a valid Vulkan image view. Okay. I'm wondering how we got to there. So I'm actually going to go debug callback. And I'm going to put a breakpoint whenever we hit an error, so that I can see the stack trace of where that came from. Also, I do want to mention this is an interactive stream, so if you guys have any questions that you want to bring up along the way, feel free to ask them in chat, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. All right, so let's have a look at the stack trace here. So we are beginning a render pass here. What are we passing as the target? Let me go up one. So the render target index is 0. That makes sense. Render pass skybox. Render area. Render area is nothing. Okay, that's suspicious. Our clear color's been set. Render target count is 3. That makes sense. Here's our targets, attachments. We do have a texture. Internal Vulkan swap chain image. Okay, so it looks like that's been assigned correctly. So I wonder why the view itself is not valid. Just finishing your day's work off. Bedtime now before we hit 3 a.m. Oh, geez. You must... Well, yeah, I guess if it's 3 a.m. there, yeah. Your username says UK, so you're, what, 6 hours ahead of me probably? I'm on Eastern Standard Time. Peace out. Thank you for the stream, though. Interesting stuff. Nice to see how someone else structures stuff. Cool. All right. Thank you for joining. And, feel free to toss a follow if you're interested in the project. And we can do a deep dive more in the architecture here in a bit. But, yeah, thanks for dropping by. Have a good night. All right. So let's go to the Vulkan backend here and see what this is complaining about. So our begin info. Our render area does look correct. Okay. Our clear color got set. That's good. So what is the problem here? So the internal frame buffer. The frame buffer is invalid. That is a pretty suspicious address. Attachment count 1. That makes sense because it's a colored pass only. Okay, this actually... So all of this makes sense. So why is it saying that the frame buffer is invalid? Did we not set those up? I thought I did. Let's have a look at regenerate render targets. So I could have swore we did this. Let's put a breakpoint there and see what we get. So put one here. Oh, you lurk here and there. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, all right, cool. We'll see you. Good night. Have a good one. Thank you for following along. All right, so render target count is 3. That makes sense. All right, source default color. Attachment get. So here we get the swap chain image. Okay. And then we only have one of those. Attachments. So we do have a valid width and height on that. Here's the pass. So here's where we go into create the render target, which should create our frame buffer for us. So our attachment count is 1. That makes sense. It's color attachment only. Okay. I'm not seeing anything that looks wrong in here. Have the attachment. Okay. Create the frame buffer. That checked out. Okay, and then we do the same thing for the other 2 frames. Right, so... yeah, I mean, that's... So we have that, and then we're done. So why are we getting a... Oh, you know what? We're probably not handling the window resize, are we? I'll bet that's it. Because whenever the window resizes... Whenever the window resizes... Oh, we are regenerating the render. We are doing it here. Let me see. Rendergraph finalize. So we're doing this twice, which I don't know that that completely makes sense. Probably don't need to do it a second time here. But okay. Yeah, I don't think we're handling it on resize. So we had that that logic in the front end. That was calling on window resize, which essentially was doing this logic here. So we probably need to also do that within the application. So we call that on the plugin. But I don't see where we actually do it on the application itself. Probably because we don't actually have that here. So the plugin resize, let me think about this for a minute. See, and this was bad because we technically shouldn't be doing... Like, it's okay to tell the renderer backend about this, but like we shouldn't have been doing the render view system stuff here called from the renderer front end. This should technically be done somewhere else. Let's see. So we have an application on resize. So that's probably actually where we should be doing it, because this does get called. So let's do... Oh, we don't have a function for that. Okay, we've missed that. We missed that. Okay, so I'm going to put that here. We'll export it, call it Rendergraph on window resize. On... Yeah, I guess on resize is fine. So we need a pointer to the render graph. Core Senses, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Let's play a sound. Hi, how are you? What language is that? It's actually C. It's not C# or C++. It's actually just C. Are there any specific reasons why you choose to debug in VS Code but not Visual Studio or NVim? I'm on Linux, first of all, so I can't use Visual Studio. I have tried some NeoVim plugins for debugging, and they work, but they were a little bit buggy. It would just like occasionally not display data and stuff like that, and it wasn't really reliable. There are a couple of external debuggers that I'm trying out right now, but I'm not comfortable enough with them to use them sort of in production yet, if you will. So I will be switching away from VS Code in order to use something that's a better debugger. But yeah, I'm trying that out, Kohi, actually. Yep, I am trying that one. That one and another one. So yeah, but they're both pretty good. It's just I have to get used to using them. I'm used to, this one because I used it for a while for debugging, right? I just never quite got away from it from that. Okay, so graph. And I guess all I need here should just be the width and height. So I'll just take these as F32s. Height. Right, and then I'll go to the bottom here, right above, actually right between these two. All right, so if not graph, turn false. Right, and I think all we actually need to do is we need to recreate these, but I think I have to set the heights or like resize these textures. What did I do in the... What did I do in this one? So we called the view on resize. Render targets regenerate. So technically that was called by an external source. So what was the... Frame buffer width, frame buffer height. Plugin resized. So I guess all I would need to do is take these. So we did this per view. Where did we actually update the width and height, though? Oh, it was here. And then we used the view's width and height. To do that here. Psycode, welcome. I'm doing good. How are you? Good to see you here. Visual Studio if you're on Windows. Not many good options besides it. Yeah, I mean on Windows, I guess that's probably your best option. I'm still, unfortunately, using VS Code for that. But yeah, it's not bad. It's going decently. I'm basically working my way through all the errors that I'm running into by implementing my new Rendergraph system and replacing the old render view system. Phil Aesthetics, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Banhammer. Is anyone else hearing that beeping? Mariah going crazy? No, it's me. Every time I say VS Code, I have to beep it. You know? This is a family friendly stream. I can't be cursing like that, you know? You're the only one, Mighty Loopy. Illegal word, exactly. All right, so actually, Tej the other day actually wrote a script in NeoVim to actually censor out that word if it appears on the screen, and I really want to get that from him because it was hilariously awesome. I'll put it in my my NeoVim config file. Yeah, it like censors it out on the screen. It's hilarious. I wonder if he's posted it yet. I'll have to nag him about it in his next stream. All right. So I think we have ads. About 10 seconds left on ads. All right, we're back. So I just like to pause the stream whenever ads come up, just so that you guys don't miss anything. Have I been messing with custom allocators yet? Yeah, this engine actually uses custom allocators. Unless you're talking custom Vulkan allocators, but actually, yeah, we do. We're just kind of using our internal allocator that we have here as our custom allocator. So yeah, we actually already have that in place. And so here towards the top of the back end, we actually have all the functions that we use for it. So here's the allocation, right? And it just calls our internal kallocate aligned. And then, you know, this is to ensure proper memory alignment when we actually facilitate this call, right? So it meets the criteria. The free is just a internal free. And then we have the reallocation in here as well. And then the internal alloc, which is really just a report. It's basically internal allocations, I think, are just GPU memory. So that's kind of what I'm tagging them as. So I just have this kallocate report, and that just reports a allocation without actually allocating from system memory. And then we have a free report here. And then my create Vulkan allocator just sets up all those functions, function pointers rather. And then we just use that, right? And I can turn it on or off. I can turn on tracing for it so that I see trace messages coming up for each individual allocation. And yeah, we went through that quite a while ago in the series, and it's pretty thoroughly tested. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It allows me to track all allocations that come from Vulkan and tag them, so I can see exactly how much RAM it's taking up. And then, so I have two tags for that. I have just memory tag Vulkan, and then I have another tag which is memory tag Vulkan external, which is that sort of, I think it's on the GPU type thing. And yeah, the video where we implemented this is available on the YouTube channel. All right. So, what I need to do is figure out how to get this resize to be read down here. And so I guess we're just going to have to go through each one of our passes, right? So we'll have to get a, I think that's a D array. D array of passes, yeah. So we can do darray length. U32 pass count. And then for U32I equals 0, I is less than pass count plus I. And then for each one of these passes sub I, at this point, I guess we could go by the attachment size, the attachment texture size, and just adjust that. That seems hacky, though. So what is the... So this just sets the internal frame buffer width on resize for the Vulkan backend, which makes sense. So where was that texture resize actually happening? I'll bet it was on the swap chain, actually. Vulkan swap chain recreate. Image formats. Okay, here's the swap chain creation. Here's where we get the images. Okay, so we wrap internal, that's where that gets set. Okay, so we don't actually need to set that there. This should take care of it then. So I think actually all we really need to do is literally just say regenerate render targets for the address of graph passes sub I. Oh, and we also need the graph itself. Why is that bleating? Oh, is it already a pointer? Right. That might be enough. Where did my debugger go? There it is. All right, so let's try running this again. Still pooping itself. Okay. Tammin, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. We're render graphing, yes. We're render graphing once again. Oh, you know what? I just realized. I forgot to change the Dingus title again. This is episode 135. Not 134. There we go. All right. So it's still saying we have an invalid frame buffer, which is really confusing to me. Because at this point, we should not be... We shouldn't have that as an issue. So... We're beginning this guy. Like, our attachments look valid. These flags are all set correctly. So where are we actually... Let's see. So we have render frame after prepare frame. So that should have done everything that we need. Render begin is there. Render end is there. Render present. I mean, all these things are in order. It's going to be something stupid I missed. I can guarantee it. Okay, all this stuff looks like it's set correctly now, at least. So that's good. All right, all that data is set. Can you edit memory in VS Code when debugging? You can, yeah. So like if you have, if you are, I don't know, where's a good spot for me to stop? Like I guess, if we wanted to look at this, for example, we can enter that into the watch, and then you should be able to... Oh, it's not letting... Why is it not letting me... maybe not. I've done it before, though. I don't understand why it's not letting me edit it. Yeah, it should be set value. Oh. Yeah, there we go. I forgot how to do it because it's been a bit since I've actually had to do that. But yeah, you can do that. I usually actually typically use this debug console thing down here, right? So I can say that. Yeah, I mean, it works pretty decent, I have to say. As much as I don't like the editor itself, the debugger actually works pretty decent. And that's one of the reasons I switched to it is like full-blown VS is so slow, and it's Windows only. So you're kind of stuck if you're using Linux like I am. Okay. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to go through and figure out why our... Actually, let's do... Do we actually have... Oh, this didn't actually get called, did it? An array size definitely happened, and this never got called. So... did we not call that on our application? I thought we did. Nope, we didn't. That's part of the problem. So Rendergraph, resize. I guess on resized. We'll go width, height. Oh, I guess we already had height in there. I think that was a... Oh, return type of void. Okay. All right. So let's bring back our debugger. Wow, it still never hit that breakpoint. What? There we go. Okay. So this is if not width or not height. Oh, interesting. That's probably because the window... Well, the window is created, so what actually triggered this then? Engine state width and engine state height are both 0. But why would that be true? We should actually have... Okay, that's kind of bizarre. All right, so we return out of that one, but then we come back in and we have 1280 by 720. Okay, so this one actually does make sense. So we update our viewports. Oh, I called renderer on resize. What am I doing? That's render. Should be Rendergraph. You dingus. Rendergraph on resize. Too few are... Oh, because I didn't pass the Rendergraph itself. So that's going to be the address of states. What do we call this? Frame graph, I think? Yeah. All right. Let's try this again. So I'll bet that's actually what our problem was. I'm just going to get rid of that breakpoint. Here we go. So here's the resize. And we just regenerate the render passes. Right? And now let's continue. Still. It's bleating about the... Oh, wait a minute. This is slightly different. Attachments 0 is not a valid view. So now it's saying the first image view is not valid. Okay. So let's figure out why that is. What is it? VK create frame buffer. It's the only place where we actually create frame buffers. I'm going to disable this for a second. Oh, did I kill my other breakpoint? I might have, actually. Rendergraph on resize. Okay, let's try that again. V1, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Let's see. Maybe the frame buffer resize is invalidating the previous image view and the handle is not catching up. I think that might be the issue, but the weird thing is like I didn't change any of that logic. So I have a feeling like maybe I'm doing something out of order somewhere. The underlying logic for that hasn't changed, but yeah, I think it's going to be something like I'm missing a step somewhere or something along those lines. So we have on resize. Oh, I forgot to re-enable the breakpoint. Yeah, so once I hit that one, enable that one. All right, so this is for the resize on the 1280 by 720. Here's the attachments. So here's the view that it's bleating about. So it's attachments, internal data. I'm going to have to actually do this. And then change this to sub-0. And then, so we do have a handle, but no memory. Yeah, that doesn't seem legit. No memory requirement. Yeah, that's not legit. Okay, so why are we not getting views for this? So the views from this come when we create the swap chain. So here's where we get the images themselves. And here's where we do a wrap internal, which is basically where we take a Vulkan texture image and we wrap our texture object around it, right? Or our texture structure. And like I said, this logic hasn't changed. So what you're missing in VS Code is easily creating classes, which also get added to my CMake project. Impossible somehow, at least as far as I know. Yeah, I can't speak to that because I don't use C++ or CMake or VS Code for development. I personally don't use CMake, only good old Makefiles. Yeah, Makefiles all the way, for sure. That's what I do too. Tried using CMake many times, but I find it more convoluted than writing my own rules and targets straight on Makefile. 100% agreed. I mean, how full is Stack Overflow of questions about configuring CMake? There's tons of them on there. To be fair, there's tons on there about Makefiles too, but I'll bet there's way more regarding CMake. Your CMake skill is Visual Studio. That's funny. Premake for the win. I have not tried Premake, to be fair. But Make is my build system, essentially, right? Then use it on a non-Microsoft OS. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I have two Makefiles. I have one for building executables and one for building shared libraries. And I just pass a whole bunch of... I pass like a whole bunch of variables to each one, a little bit of information about like where the files are and so forth, and then that's it. So it's like if I'm making an executable, I pass it to this one. If I'm making a library, I pass it to this one. And probably I'm going to wind up combining these two into a single Makefile at some point, and then just passing a flag to it, but it's not quite there yet. Sort of never ran into any problems with CMake. And I'm a C++ noob working on an MMO RPG. Works well for me. I mean, whatever works well for you, right? Just because I don't prefer it or I don't think it's right for a lot of my projects doesn't mean it isn't right for other people. I'm not going to be one of those that you should never do this. It's not me. All right. So wrap internal literally just takes the internal data that we provide it and wraps a texture around it. So I don't think it's that. Oops. I'm hitting Vim key bindings in here. So I don't think it's... that. But basically when we Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that is an issue. Reddy, thank you so much for the follow. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you for the follow. This doesn't do views, does it? No, it does not. So we have to create one here. Otherwise, we resize the texture. Here's where we actually get the images. Oh, here's where the views are created. Swap chain image counts. So I'm not understanding why the views are invalid. I guess what I can do is I guess I can just set a breakpoint here, right? So this is, I believe, on the first creation, which ultimately winds up getting thrown out because we resize the window right away. Yeah, so we initialize. Okay, so I'm going to skip this one. So we create a frame buffer for each attachment, right? Which is a lot of them. And then we do a render graph on resize. And here we are creating another frame buffer. But I didn't see a call to recreate the swap chain. Right, this is the render target recreate, but we didn't recreate the swap chain. Yeah, exactly. So why didn't that happen? Because I would have expected that to hit before this. I'm going to restart this again. Okay, so this is for the initial creation. I'm going to skip that one. This is all the initial frame buffers, so I can skip these guys. Okay. Render graph on resize. Note that the backend resize has not been called yet, which is probably backwards. That probably needs to happen before this. That's got to be it. So I shouldn't have to call render on resize though. From here, the application shouldn't be doing that. The engine should be doing that. Yeah, right there. Interesting. Yeah, swap chain should be resized first. Yeah, exactly. And for some reason, that's not happening. Which actually, the whole renderer actually isn't even getting notified of that first. Which is really weird. Oh. Because we're calling the game on resize right here. Ads. About 30 seconds on ads. Tam, and you didn't get any ads? Weird. All right, so we're back. It's weird that you didn't get any ads. I guess some people don't, though. Like, I don't know if that's, like, I don't know if you have Turbo. Or, actually, are you currently subscribed? Because if you are, then... Oh, Brazil's getting fewer ads. Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, it is what it is, I guess. Psycode, are you in Brazil as well? Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I know that, actually, that explains why Brazil was getting, like, French ads for a while. If there weren't, like, a lot of ads going that way, then that kind of makes sense. All right. Oh, wait. Before I do this. So, one thing that I was thinking that it could be is, like, this was down here. The render on resize was here. Which we're calling our application on resize here. So I'm thinking the render on resize should probably happen first. Where else are we calling this? So we call it once on initialize, that makes sense. And then once within the engine resize. And that's it. Dome Scope, first time chat, so welcome. Welcome to the stream. I will start to learn game development. I'm full stack web developer. I'm so confused and I don't know where to start. I'm learning C# with Godot, but which is better, Godot or Unity? Which is more beginner friendly? So that's a loaded question. So up until this last week, I would have suggested Unity, but they just put a whole bunch of new policies out there that are super predatory. And I would not ever trust or suggest them to anybody ever again. So I would say avoid Unity and don't even touch it with somebody else's 10-foot pole. So I would say go the Godot route. Unless you want to learn C++, then definitely go Unreal. Either one of those are going to be good to start with, but there's going to be somewhat of a steep learning curve, right? But that's going to be true with no matter what game engine you choose, right? It really depends, though, on whether you want to make 2D or 3D games. That's also kind of a big thing that might help you make that decision. Godot you can make 3D games with, but it caters a little bit better to 2D games, from at least it did last time I used it. Whereas Unreal is definitely more 3D centric, but can also make 2D games. But there's also, if you're going to do 2D, there's also other engines out there that you could use as well. So, yeah, so you could also piecemeal libraries together, right? You could use SDL as Tokta is, and you could always build, sort of build your own engine that way too. You were thinking about C++, but Unreal Engine is not for indie game devs. I disagree with that. They've made huge strides to make it accessible for everyone. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say Unreal is a fantastic choice. Because they're, it's if your game does over $1 million, then they ask for 5%. Other than that, it's nothing, right? And I can't think of a better, more straightforward deal than that. Obviously, Godot is free, but you're kind of stuck with the detecting collisions. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of understanding that goes behind that for sure. Not only detecting collisions, but reacting to them if you don't have it like a physics system set up. Okay. So if we move this here, I could have swore actually that we had so we have a window resize, we call engine unresized, and then that calls into this. We call renderer resized. Don't we have... where was that? We had some logic in here. I think it was here. Where did we put... Was it in the... I'm trying to think. I had some logic in here that that was waiting a few frames before actually kicking things off, and I'm wondering if that was actually part of the renderer. Yeah, this is it here. Renderer frame prepare. So we call the plugin resized here. And this also calls... So this resizes... Oh, okay. So we resize the plugin here, but we don't resize the engine here. We resize the engine here, which is probably part of the problem. The trouble is, we call this resize logic every single time the window size changes, right? So as we're like dragging it around on the screen, this is getting called repeatedly, which is repeatedly calling this and repeatedly calling this. And I'm not thinking that's going to be the way to go. The renderer is actually got some logic in here to wait a certain amount of frames since the last resize and then kick off all of that logic. And so what I'm thinking part of the problem is, because like what we were doing before was we were calling the render view system window resize here. And so I think that is why we were running into problems, right? Because we were doing that right before the plugin resize, where I think this logic probably ought to be moved out of here. Yeah, because it's actually doing a platform sleep, which is terrible. Why did I put this here? I wrote this months ago. I don't remember why I put it here. Let me catch up with chat. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of messages here. Okay. It's a long road to learn all that needs to come together to make a game. True. Start off slow. Also true. Learn programming, then learn about graphics, then learn about game design. Eventually you'll get there. Kind of disagree with that. C and C++ are my first languages. Trying to learn two programming languages at the same time. I don't know that I would do that. I would focus on one at a time and get really good with it and then transfer the concepts to another one. But yeah, I think Psycode's advice here is pretty sound, right? Like, pick a language, get decent with it, then, build a few different, utility programs with it or something, then kind of start to jump into the graphics, and then worry about game design, right? Now, the only exception to that would be if you're not really interested in like the underlying engine tech, then maybe don't do that. Maybe you could just use a pre-existing engine and go that route. But I will say, even if you do go that route, it is a good idea to kind of have a loose understanding of how the underlying tech works anyways, so that when you're debugging issues, you're not completely in the dark, right? Let's see. Starting off with your own low-level languages can be very daunting for beginners. Yeah, that's true. But that's also why I suggest C for people that are learning, not C++. You could start with C and then change to C++. Because if you have a solid understanding of C, learning C++ will be easy. But yeah, C++ is daunting from the beginning because it's a super complicated language by comparison. Yeah, so it sounds, Tammin, like you've bounced back and forth between C++ and C. Yeah, me too. What do you think about Rust for building a game engine? I can't really speak on it. I don't really have any experience with Rust. I used it for like 2 weeks, and I don't personally like things telling me how to use my memory, so I don't use Rust. But that's my opinion on it, right? And I don't really have any more than that because I haven't used it for very long. So I'm not really qualified to answer that question, I don't feel like. Cookies, hey, long time no see. How's work going? I wanted to ask you something like 3 weeks, but I don't want to bother you. If you have time, I would ask. Hit me up in Discord. And ping me in Discord, and I'll answer it. Cool. All right. So I think that's going to be at least part of the solution here. Is we're going to have to take this logic. This doesn't really belong in the renderer, right? This belongs in the engine. This should be here. So we have this resizing logic. And technically speaking, we shouldn't even be calling like frame prepare if we're resizing, right? So what this is basically doing is saying if we're resizing, then it's checking to see if we should actually do the resize if need be. Otherwise, sleep for 16 milliseconds and boot out. So technically speaking, this resizing flag, I think, can go away. So frame sense resize, those should probably both be moved out of here. Render on resized. So we store the change but wait to regenerate. Again, we shouldn't be doing that here. That should be the engine doing that. And then the only thing that seems to check it is the frame prepare. So, okay, let's take both of these and go here to the top and do this. So indicates if the window is currently being resized, and then the number of frames since the last resize operation. Only set if resizing equals true, otherwise 0. Okay, so we put that there. And then when we create the engine, let's put the first state for it here. So engine state resizing equals false, and engine state frames since resize is going to be equal to 0. Okay, so we'll zero those out. Get rid of that. All right, so on resized. So here we need to go to resize. Engine on resized, this guy. So here, the first thing looks like no matter what, we go ahead and set this is going to be engine state resizing equals true. So we set that first and foremost. We take the width and the height. And then we also, this is also a good point, so we take the engine state frames since resize and we reset that count. I guess I'll take the comment with it as well. All right. Let's see. Okay, so we get rid of this guy. Get rid of this guy. Get rid of those. All right. Okay, so this section is the section we need to move out. So let's see, check if different. I think we actually want to wrap this check inside this guy. Maybe not. So if it's not different, we're actually not going to count a frame for that. I think we'll put it inside of here actually. So let's put that, actually, you know what? Let's put that minimization. Okay, let's put this logic here, right? Because if we're not minimized, and if we're not suspended, then this is where we actually need to drop that logic. In this case, we can grab, let's just grab this whole thing real quick. Put it there. And then we can say engine state, resizing. Let's see. So width and height, we actually don't need those. Plugin resized. Okay, so this is where we need to make our change, right? So we have these two guys. We need to put those in here. We don't need this because that's going to get called by this render on resized. We don't need these two guys. We don't need that. We just need to change this to engine state. And then same for that one. And oh, we need to get rid of these down here. I don't know if I want to keep this section, but for right now I'm going to keep it. We are going to return false to say that this event hasn't been handled. Actually, we don't even need that there. That'll just fall through. Okay. So I think now we can actually take all of this logic out of here. Didn't really belong there in the first place. All right. Let us see what we get. So we'll skip the first one. Here's all of our frame buffers. We still didn't hit the breakpoint. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, this is separate. This is different. This is completely different. Okay, sweet. I think we might have actually fixed it. I'm not Gam. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome. How are you doing? Perilets, hello. Welcome. Let me do a quick shout out to... I hope I spelled that right. I'm not Gam. Or is it I'm not game? I'm doing pretty well. How about you? Raid or whatever. Yeah, nice. It is spelled right. Okay, cool. Yeah, so what we're doing here is we're refactoring our sort of rendering system to use a Rendergraph instead of a view system that I had in here before. And so most of that refactoring is done. Now I'm just kind of stepping through all the stuff that I broke in the process. Paralets, thank you for the follow. Yeah, so VS Code is what I use as my debugger, and then NeoVim is actually what I use to write the code in, right? So episode 135, yep. Yeah, so this project has been underway for about 2.5 years, I want to say. And so we actually have a website that's got like all the details on it. I'll drop that there in chat. And that contains links to the YouTube channel where all this stuff is archived. It contains links to GitHub as well as this Twitch channel. All this is completely open source. So what compiler do I use? I use Clang right now. Yeah, so I use Clang because I actually, this engine supports Windows, Mac, and Linux. So Clang was just easy to kind of set up across the board and use. So that's what we're using. Domescope, thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate that. Let's see. NeoVim on WSL unless I don't have a terminal open, and VS Code on Windows for me. I've watched some of your videos before. Okay, sweet. My combo is NeoVim plus CLine for debugging. Using NeoVim DApp plugins, but CLine is still the best. Yeah, I tried the NeoVim DApp plugins, but I don't know. It was pretty buggy and error prone for me. Maybe I'll go back to it in a couple of months. But I've got a couple of other external debuggers that I'm trying, but I haven't quite gotten comfortable enough with them to want to do that on stream yet. I gotta hop out for an hour because I got a seminar to go to, but once I get back, I'll check, or I'll be back if I remember. So usually my stream kind of wraps up around now, so I won't be on, but feel free to check my YouTube channel as well as the stuff that's on VOD here for kind of where we're at. But yeah, the YouTube is basically where everything is archived. So in fact, I'll drop my socials here. It's going to be kind of spammy, but so it's got like my YouTube, Discord links, all that kind of stuff. just so that you guys can check that stuff out. Let's see. See you next stream, most likely. Okay, yeah, cool, that works. No worries. All right. You gotta reboot your laptop. Cool. You remember watching the beginning of the series and forgot how to write C? That's fair. All right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're getting ready to wrap up here for the night, but let me see. Where was I? So I built and okay. So I was looking at this error. Okay. So this actually does make sense. So I think our render pass actually went through. So this is complaining now about the image format, that it needs to be presented, which makes sense because our application actually isn't doing anything to flip that over right now. We're not actually executing all of our passes right now. So that actually does make sense. So we have this first one running, which is great. We need to run the last pass, regardless of whether or not the level is loaded. So specifically, that's going to be this UI pass, right? So let me think about how I want to do that. Nakeshu, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. So I think I'm actually going to remove this requirement right now for the scene to be loaded. At least I may have to do this several times actually. So I think actually I'll leave this one. This render pass we don't want to load, or we don't want to actually do unless the scene is loaded. Same is going to be true for the editor pass. Maybe. However, we need to actually end that here. And start a new one here. What, let's see. Did we miss a... So that one's there for some reason. Okay, so I guess we don't need this one. Well, that just seems horribly wrong. What did I do with my... I've got an extra bracket here somewhere, I think. Scene loaded. Right, that's the scene loaded. Now it should end here. I think. Function definition is not allowed here. Oh, it's still... Am I still missing a... That's the scene loaded. Needs another one down here. Is this... Yeah, that's the scene loaded. Okay, so this needs to come down there. Okay. So, oh, you know what? Actually, I don't even need this check here. That's funny. Because this needs to run whether or not the scene's loaded because it's the UI. All right. We have ads. I'll be back. Got about 30 seconds on ads. All right, and we're back. So I'm just going to try one thing really quickly with the UI to just see if I can get this to run tonight. And if this doesn't work, I'll probably just end the stream here and we'll pick it up next time. Arrow is just pointers, just for pointers to structs, right? It's a dereference to a pointer, yeah. Yeah, side code basically described it, yep. Okay, so I just need to look at the UI view real quick. Actually, yeah, we use the viewport projection and then the internal data view matrix, which is just identity. Okay. So this is going to be map for identity. This is only because we don't actually have a camera for the UI yet, because we don't have a UI system. View position, I'm just going to leave that actually as zeroed out. I'm not going to use it anyway. And then here, instead of world viewport, we want UI viewport. Projection. And we want to do the execute. I think that might be... Oh, we need the UI viewport. Okay. We don't need the world camera. Okay. So let's check out this and see. Oh, you know what? I didn't even close this last time. Let me stop this and build it. I'm going to kill my breakpoints because I think this issue is resolved, actually. So I'm just going to, except for, where's that one? I want to keep this one. All right, let's continue. Segfault, yay! All right, how do we hit there? UiPath execute. Apply instance. Current shader ID. Okay. What are we segfaulting on? Map texture. Or just map is rubbish. Bound instance ID. Oh, we're applying the instance, but did we... So we apply the instance. Oh, we did bind the instance. Text instance ID is 0. I kind of doubt it. Okay. So I think our bitmap text drawing is messed up for some reason. Looks like our regular geometry did okay. Let me just check to see what we have here. Okay, yeah, this is not valid at all. So, for some reason, our texts are not available. Not really sure why. Did we maybe not set one? So we reserve the array. We push test text, and test system text. I mean, all of this looks correct. Maybe we should just create instead of reserve. Nope. Okay. So that is probably where I'm going to leave off for tonight. I'm sure it's probably something stupid I'm doing in here, or not doing rather, just to push this data through. Actually, I guess I could turn that off, right? But let's see. Quick question before you wrap up. What do you use frame sense resize for? Prevent multiple swap chain related resources from getting recreated multiple times? Yeah, so basically what I do is when you resize a window on any OS, it's going to fire tons and tons and tons of events as you sort of move the mouse and kind of drag that window on resize. If you just maximize or minimize or restore or whatever, it's going to be one event. But if you're dragging the mouse, it creates a whole ton of events. And so what I do is I wait for a certain number of frames to actually go by to say, when was the last resize operation that happened? And so what I do is I wait 30 frames since the last resize operation happened, and then I say, okay, we must be done resizing. Now go ahead and recreate the swap chain and all that stuff, because recreating the swap chain is not a quick operation. And if you're trying to do that on every window resize, you're going to run into problems. It's just why 30 frames is just the number I chose. So 30 frames, depending on your frame rate, can either be 1 second or a half a second, right? And so it's not a huge amount of time, but it basically keeps us from just constantly like hammering the GPU, recreating resources as we're dragging that thing around. But yeah, that's basically why we do it. We were doing it in the renderer before, which was wrong, and now we're doing it at the engine level, and only calling the renderer to actually resize and do all that stuff when we need it to. So, what I'm going to do here is get status. So this is all the crap we've changed tonight. I'm not going to worry about this delete me here. I suppose I could... Yeah, screw it. I'll leave it. I did that so that file wouldn't compile. Eventually it's going to be deleted anyway, so I'll just check it in as it is, and then before we actually merge this, I'll make sure that all the views are nuked. So git add git commits, reworked, actually I should say moved, resize, wait logic, to engine from renderer. Hooked in render graph execute various bug fixes. All right, so that's pushed so that you guys can see that code. Of course, like it's always on our feature Rendergraph branch so that we're not breaking main. And yeah, that's probably going to wind up doing it for tonight. Let's see, isn't the result on resize an event only cookies? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean like if you use a framework like SDL, there's an option? But I've done everything from scratch, so tracking the resize end might... Oh, I see. Resize end. Okay. Yeah, there is no resize end event. I could add one if I wanted to, but it would basically be the same thing, right? I guess you could like tie it to a mouse up event or something at the platform level and do it that way, but since we're doing everything from scratch, this is how I'm doing it. I suppose I could fire off a resize end event, right? At the end of that wait. Yep, exactly. Yeah. So there's, you know, there's definitely stuff we could add there if we needed it for some reason. Yeah. All right. Let me see who is on to be rated. Let's see. I'm actually pretty tired tonight, so I think I'm probably going to, I think I'm going to raid Ferret Software. Ferret time. So, Ferret Software is a ferret rescue run by Pirate Software, who's another streamer on here if you don't know him. His name is Thor. He's a really cool guy. He basically has started a Twitch channel to pay for a ferret rescue that he is running. And basically all of the ad revenue is used to pay for food and medical care for the ferrets. He has 17 now that he's rescued from various bad situations, whether it's like medical testing situations or neglect situations, or some of them were just people that couldn't take care of them any longer. And so he's essentially given them a good home, you know, a nice big area to play around in. You'll see that when we jump over there. And he's providing them with a really good life. And he's got some elderly ones in there as well, and some sick ones, and he's basically just taking care of them to the best of his ability. So the ad revenue alone from this pays for all of that care, which is really, really awesome. So it's a great cause, and I like to promote it as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to switch over to that, and thank you guys so much for joining. I'll drop my social links here in the chat again, just in case you guys want to follow any of that for updates and whatnot. And yeah, I will see you guys on the next stream. Thanks for joining.